Hey, Maria back with another video. It's 6:54 a.m. It is February 20th, Tuesday morning. Some of you guys didn't have to work yesterday, but you guys are right back on it. So I hope you guys have a really good day and, try to shake up your routine throughout the day as much as you possibly can. So anyway, yesterday was crazy. I decided to go get some groceries, but I didn't want to go to the regular place that I usually go. So I decided to take the bus, right? Now, I've gone on the bus before, I do have a car, but right now I'm not using my car, and so I just wanted to get out of the house. So I got out of the house, I was on the bus, and, I went to my stores, and I had to, cart everything around, which is kind of nice, you know what I mean? It's nice to be outside. I was in kind of just want to get out of the house for a few hours, but I didn't realize that the bus stopped working at 7 o'clock on a holiday schedule. And I was like, oh, great, because I missed the last bus home, and I was like, it reminded me of the days when I used to live in Lancaster, because like Lancaster used to have a really bad bus system. Like their bus system has improved, but when I was a teenager, the bus system was just like, I think the bus came like maybe one bus came every 3 hours. I mean, it was not very convenient, right? But I remember taking the bus when I was a teenager, and I remember one time, like, the bus went way out to, like, somewhere on the west side. And, this happened a few times, And, I got dropped off, and I realized, oh my gosh, there is no other bus home. And I couldn't call my dad to pick me up, because if I did that, then he would know that I wasn't at school or something like that. And I'd have to go and explain why I was on the bus in the first place. So, I'd have to trek it home. And I remember, like, walking long, long distances. I've always been the kind of person who just kind of dealt with that. When I got one of my jobs when I was a teenager, I remember walking to work, when I got those jobs. And I remember walking to, like, the convalescent hospital that I worked at, which I would never work at one of those places ever again. But anyway, um, I do just, it just had like this memory of me being in those situations back then. And what's weird is, like yesterday, I did not bring my cell phone with me, okay, which is really stupid, right? Because you're like, man, you should always bring your phone when you are leaving the house. Anybody should know that, right? But I wasn't thinking about my. I don't think about my phone because I don't really communicate like a lot on my phone, right? So, my phone doesn't have the same meaning as it does to most people. Like, they're really attached to their phone. So anyway, I was out, and it reminded me of that because back then, when I was a teenager and I would get stuck in those situations, we didn't have cell phones back then either, so you had to use a payphone. So guess what? I actually used a payphone yesterday. I was at the bus station. They actually have them there, right? And I was like amazed because I kept thinking, oh my gosh, I have not used one of these in years. And I kept thinking about all the germs that could be on that phone. I was completely grossed out by the whole thing. But okay, I used the phone. So anyway, I called, and then, I memorized my son's number. It's funny because, you know, I would say in the last 10 years since having a cell phone, I would just log numbers into the phone and not really pay attention to the number. Like after I recorded the number, I would forget the number, right? Because I figure, hey, the cell phone's going to remember it and stuff. I had stopped recording people's names and stuff like that in like those little books that people would buy, like name and address books. So everything was just like, saved electronically or whatever. But this time, for some reason, I kept thinking, I'm going to remember my son's phone number, and I did. But he didn't answer the phone. I kept thinking, oh my gosh, here's the thing: if somebody leaves the house, maybe it's not a good idea to ignore phone calls that come in that you don't recognize, especially if somebody's not home. That really should be kind of like a safety type thing, to where people know, hey, I need to be available if something happens. You know what I mean? But anyway, He didn't answer the first time, so I was like, "Oh crap, what am I gonna do?" So I walked up the street and I went to Jerry's Pizza. The lady was really nice there. I was really grateful. She didn't have to let me use her phone, but she did. So I called him again. I was gonna have to call a taxi at first, and I was like, "Oh my god, those things are ridiculously expensive." And I kept thinking, "What am I gonna do?" So I called my son, and he came by and he picked me up, and I was very glad that he answered the phone. So I got home safely, but it did remind me of those times, you know what I mean? And I kept thinking, there's so many things I wish I could do and go back in time to clarify, when it came to, people like who misjudged me, like my mother, my adoptive mother. And my mother was a part of my targeting, whether she realizes it or not. And it's like, she wanted to paint me out to be a bad person when I was in like one of those vicious cycles where you're dealing with things that are beyond your control. Like, people were set against you from day one. So it was like not like I really had a lot of chances, when it came. But see, I think what it is like, you grow up, even though that's not my biological mother, there's a part of you that always feels like this disconnect. Like I didn't connect with her, and there's this weird void there. Like it's not like I look at her like she's the kind of person that I'd want to be warm and loving towards, because obviously she was very abusive, but I do remember the times where she wasn't having such a bad day. You know what I mean? And it's sad because you always long for this relationship to always be like the times where she wasn't having a bad day. Like you wish that you could have had a loving relationship with your mother. That's really sad. You know what I mean? It's one of those sad, tragic type things. And I keep thinking, what about now? Like if she saw me now and she realized what she was a part of, would that change things? Does it matter? You know what I mean? There's always going to be that sort of fucking heartache that's going to be inside of me for the rest of my life. That sucks, but it is what it is. And I just have to realize, not all families give a shit. Some people, you're used for whatever, and once they use you and you're nothing to them anymore, then that's just the way it is. And, I understand that we live in a very sad place where there's such a lack of real concern for children or whatever. People get exploited, whatever. But, at the same time, it's like, man, you know what I mean? To have a real family, it's like, to have something like that, it would be so wonderful, like where people actually supported their kids and listened to their kids and spent time with their kids and, and wanted to. Not because they felt like that's some sort of obligation or whatever. Like, if they really loved their kids, that would be such a wonderful world, And seeing more of that would be great. But I got up early this morning, and I decided, well, I didn't really decide. I naturally woke up at this hour, It was dark outside, like around 5 o'clock this morning, so I made some coffee. And I sat there and watched the sunrise, and it's still coming up a little bit, over the clouds and stuff, but it's kind of gray outside. It's really beautiful during this time of the night. Well, I would say night, but like when we're transitioning into the morning hours. And it's just really silent, and it's a good time to pray and meditate. And that's exactly what I was doing, and so I started thinking about stuff, like these old experiences that I'm reliving, they have a different meaning now. They don't have the same meaning, like when I was talking about how, I was afraid to call my dad to come pick me up and stuff. It's like, I wonder did I don't know. I guess I wonder, like, did they understand what was really going on? And if they did, you know, um, how do you live with yourself kind of thing? I don't know. I just wonder, like, man, do people have a conscience? That kind of bothers me sometimes. But other than that, I've just been trying to stay positive and keeping my what do you call it? Uh, my mind, at ease with different techniques. Of course, meditation is something I spend a lot of time doing. Listening to music is helpful. Um, what else? Yeah. Um, just kind of picking up my projects here and there. I still haven't finished my video, um, but I am going to be working on it that this afternoon. I just want to, step away from any feelings of negativity. I can't really carry those anymore, although I'm going to be living that pretty much for the rest of my life. You know what I mean? It's like this whole thing about not having a real family is kind of like disturbing me, but it is what it is. I just wake up every day and do the best I can, and try to stay positive and surround myself with things that I love, that eases things, you know. I try, it's like, you wonder when you get to these points where, like, they kind of leave you dangling, like, you're dealing with car issues, like I do. I am dealing with a car issue, okay? Like, my car needs repairs, and then there's, issues relating to payments and stuff like that. And it's difficult because, it's like you try hard to not let yourself get in these situations. And it's not something, it's beyond your control. It's beyond your control. You know, it's sad, that we do have problems in the employment arena and things like that, to where, it's hard to remedy your situation when you're being like used as a puppet of some sort or whatever. It's not cool, you know what I mean? And I will say, though, I'm disappointed right now because I got credit card issues, right? Because, like, for years I struggled to get my credit good, and then I finally get it good, and then I run into financial issues that are beyond my control. You know what I mean? I can't tell you how frustrating that is. This is one of the reasons why I feel like a lot of people don't get out of these cycles of, like, you see improvement, and then you slip right back down again. And you try not to. It's not your fault that you slip down again. It's the fact that you can't get into anything consistent because there's always some sort of blockage and stuff like that. This is what pisses me off so much, you know what I mean? Because, like I said, believe it or not, I know people have always tried to be competitive with me, but I'm not a competitive person. I have always been somebody who has been focused on whatever it is that I'm doing, and I do care. I care about my future. I care about my life. I care about, making sure that I'm not a burden to anyone. You know what I mean? And I think it's really important that people understand that. I understand that not everybody gives a shit, and that we have to take care of ourselves. We have to make sure that, especially people like in my situation, like, I don't have family to run back to. You know what I mean? And I would never want to obstruct, I would never feel good about, like, having my son take care of me for the rest of my life. It's like, what do they expect? You're going to be afraid of people when you're in a situation like I am. I'm sure I'm not the only one. You're going to be very leery of people when you are in my situation, okay? And rightfully so, because people will have their motives for wanting to get close to you. And, you know, when you're someone who's struggling against a tide that big, you need to make sure that you're understood. You know what I mean? It's very hard to imagine a life that I live for a lot of people, especially if they come from a family that may not be perfect, but at least are supportive and they at least care. You know what I mean? Nobody, lives in a la la land, like, happy family that you might see on some television series. Okay, it's like people have problems and people have resentments for their kids for reasons that they find very difficult to explain. Some people just don't click. You know what I mean? And things are very complex, and I don't have that. I don't have a support system, so I do the best I can to pull my own weight in the best way that I possibly can. And you know I mean, I do believe you understand my frustration of this situation at this point. You know what I mean? If you can't, I don't know what else to say. It's pretty damn obvious. You know what I mean? um, I think I've been a good citizen. I think the disagreements that occurred, in this issue, like, the issue relating to religion, the issue relating to race, the issue relating to um, all the things that we are extreme opposites, you know what I mean? But although we may be opposite, I am working within the guidelines of the law and within my rights. And I appreciate my my ability to demonstrate my strength in this issue. And I'm sorry that that this happened. You know what I mean? There's a lot of ignorance that was involved in this, and some people, they really don't look at other people who aren't like them as human beings or whatever. I think that with how I'm viewed in this issue as some sort of, not necessarily a bad thing, even though the treatment that I received has been shit. But I will say that how I'm actually viewed in this issue is people actually see me as something more than human. They look at me as some sort of deity. Okay, even though they may disrespect me, I think there's a feeling of maybe inadequacy on their part, because they do think that I am in some way stronger than them. And they might be right, but I've never been flashy about the issue. I've just simply dealt with the hurdles and the obstacles that were put in my place. It bewildered me, you know what I mean? So anyway, I'm trying to keep this as cordial as I possibly can, and I don't really want to scream, even though I have I would be well within my right to do so. But it's like, I deal with these sort of frustrations, and I'm not the only person who has been targeted. I think I speak for a lot of people. The frustration that gets caused in these situations, and why, it's an unethical thing to do. You know what I mean? I figure, if I was a part of this experiment, the experiment should be like well over, and I think the conclusion is that this was an inhumane experiment. Also, I do believe that it was a experiment that basically was also, like, related to the original mastermind behind this. It kind of reflects that. But no, I am not somebody who ignores the importance of this issue, meaning, like, creating conflict with people, and my life is more than just a foolish experiment. I believe that I have a better purpose than to serve a need that really, to me, is just absolutely, I don't know. I don't know how do you record that sort of information? You know what I mean? There's so many things that need to be covered and explained when it comes to that, because hopefully that the experiment was not one-sided, to where, like, they somehow try to minimize, who I am, because I didn't fit the identity of what they wanted me to be. What they wanted me to be is a part of, I don't really know. It's not really clear, seeing as how I feel as though, when I was younger, I did spend time going to, the Kingdom Hall, or I went to the church or whatever. I did pursue that. There was really nothing I could have done to change, their opinion of me. It was fucked from the get-go. You know what I mean? But anyway, I don't want to talk so much about that anymore. I am trying to just focus on shaking up my routine, doing something a little different every day, trying different things, just mixing it up a little bit. Is whatever it is I can do to make it different than the day before is what I'm doing. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why I decided to go on the bus yesterday, which, kind of ended up kind of bad. I think I should have left early in the morning instead of late in the afternoon. Then I would have not have dealt with the last bus issue. Um, but still, it's me trying my hardest to get out of this, like, this shift of this state of stagnant depression, the constant worrying about, are people going to be fair? Am I going to have to sit here and, like, make a bunch of videos about, why I'm stagnant? the reasons why I'm stagnant, the causes behind. I don't want to go on to it. You know what I mean? I'm just hoping that you guys cooperate with me, because what else is there to do? I mean, you can't you can't fuck someone's life over any more than my life has been fucked over. I mean, seriously. But anyway, and I don't want to constantly go on and gripe about it. I don't. What I want to do is like do more videos. I want to talk more and like, communicate more about things that are important, especially on the spiritual level, because that's really what I'm all about. But I want to erase the memory of this as much as I possibly can. You know what I mean? I have enough on my mind than to see signs of it lingering. Meaning, when I contact Patreon or whatever, I'm dealing with slow, sluggish issues that I don't really believe any of that. But I do believe that there's all this ties and stuff like that. And I just really would prefer it to just speed up already. I'm tired of knowing that. And I understand. Here's the deal. I do have a great celebrity soul tribe, along with a lot of important people who are associated with this, and I appreciate your support. And then, of course, because of the nature of this issue, some of it makes me very uncomfortable that that it occurred. But I understand there's the people that I would not necessarily want to sit here and invite over to my home and have coffee or have a long conversation. They are going to be a part of my soul tribe for the rest of my life. That is the way it is. So you guys are going to continue watching me, and I guess that's fine. But you know what? I don't want to be reminded of that. Meaning, I don't want to see that. I mean, I'm not comfortable with that, and rightfully so. Okay, it's one thing for somebody to try to downgrade my family lineage, but to, behave in the manner that you did, and then try to silence me, and then kind of give me a hard time after it. I mean, I don't think maybe you have realized or thought about, like, the serious damage that you've caused. So in this way, I need you to understand that, no, I don't really think that I want to sit here and, like, enjoy your company or be reminded of it. So this is one of the reasons why I did set a deadline, and I would appreciate it, that it would be upheld, because I'm tired of dealing with that. It's a lot of trauma, and it's like this residual energy that just floats around, and I don't need reminders of it. So I'm going to wrap up this video, and I do appreciate all the support that I've been receiving, and I do want to keep it friendly, even with the people who have literally ran over my life, my family's lineage, so on and so forth. Really, there's not much to say, but I do think that you do have an obligation to make your wrongs right. I'm going to wrap up this video, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful day, and I will be back with another video sometime later. Take care. Bye-bye.